The Pac-12 officially has a future. Welcome inside Bronco Studios. I'm your host, Jay Tust. On Monday, Texas State formally accepted an invite to join the Pac-12 Conference, becoming the league's 9th member and 8th full-time member. That latter number is the most important, though, because now the conference meets the minimum amount of teams required to maintain their FBS status by the July 1st, 2026 deadline. Texas State is the latest addition to the rebuilt Pac-12, but the overall pursuit to conserve it started over 19 months ago. That's when a judge granted Oregon State and Washington State control of the conference's assets and decision-making. In September 2024, OSU and WSU essentially then extended invites to Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State, who jumped at the opportunity to join the Pac-12. Just 11 days later, Utah State followed. A week after that, Gonzaga decided to leave the WCC for the Pac-12. Then this week, the Bobcats made a pact to leave the Sun Belt. With this latest move, the conference now stretches into the Lone Star State, attaching itself to a college football recruiting hotbed. Texas State is located in San Marcos, positioned between Austin and San Antonio along the I-35 corridor. It's just 35 miles from Austin and about 51 miles from San Antonio. In 2010, it was listed as the best place to raise your kid in Texas by Business Week. In 2013 and 14, they earned the distinction of the fastest growing city in America by the United States Census Bureau. San Marcos has a current population of almost 72,000, meaning it has nearly doubled in size over the last 15 years. Founded in 1899, Texas State was originally called Southwest Texas State Normal School. It wasn't until 2013 that its name changed to its current name, Texas State. It marked the 6th name change in school history. Their current enrollment is over 40,000 students, making it the largest school in the Pac-12. The Bobcats have 16 NCAA-sanctioned sports programs, including football and men's basketball. Their women's volleyball, track and field, and softball programs have also had their fair share of recent success lately. For almost 80 years, Texas State played sports at the NAI and D2 levels. They transitioned up to the FCS ranks in the mid-'80s before moving to the FBS level in 2012. They were members of the WAC that initial year, then joined the Sun Belt Conference in 2013. They've been full-time members of that conference ever since, but on July 1st, 2026, the Bobcats will bounce to the Pac-12. Who better to talk about this news and sum up the excitement than the president at Texas State, as well as the athletic director at Texas State, Kelly Dampus and Don Coryell. And Kelly, I'm going to start with you on this one because you guys have been hard at work for really the last 10 months talking about the possibilities of this. So as you finally cross the finish line, what is it like to sit there and kind of celebrate this landmark move for Texas State today?
Well, really, this dates back to the very first meeting that Don had after I got hired. This is the second day of the start of my 4th year here. So back in July of 2022, Don and I met, and we talked about the fact that realignment was going to happen again at some point, and we wanted to be in a situation that when the music started, that there'd be a chair waiting for us. And so I said, "What do you need?" He gave me a plan for what he needed, and we acted on that. He hired some great coaches, and they brought in some great players, and that kind of set us up for being in the right place at the right time. And that's a lot of this is really, life is all about timing, right? But then when the Pac-12 two schools decided that they wanted to rebuild, that's when we started leaning in, okay, here it's about to happen here. Is there a chance to get there, or will the dominoes fall in a certain way? So really, it dates back to July of last year. And then it gets a little heavier after they invite the first 4 schools, then the 5th school, then Gonzaga. Then you got 2 conferences that have holes. Pac-12 needed one more FBS school to be an FBS conference. The Mountain West lost some schools, and so then we start reaching out to folks and talking to commissioners and presidents and chancellors of both those conferences about is there a place for Texas State? And for many of them, it's really socializing them about Texas State. I think that, unfortunately, not a lot of people know about what we have here. We're the 24th largest university in the country for undergraduate population. Huge student body. We have record freshman class this fall of about 9,400 freshmen coming in. 60,000 high school seniors in Texas applied to come to school here this fall. And so we're a great school that nobody, it's like too well of a kept secret. And so we spent a lot of time over that 10-month period talking to people about who we were. And then like it just went into like a null period. And it was really at one point we said, well, we're not going to go to one conference, we're going to concentrate on the second one. And to their credit, the Pac-12 told us we're not going to add anybody else till we get the TV contract straightened out. And so I knew that. Nobody else really knew that. And I think that the news just died for like 4 months. But we kept working with people, communicating with people. Don worked with athletics directors and so on. And then, you know, very little happening for a long time. And then in 1 week, it just went crazy. Like CBS deal was announced on Monday morning. We get a phone call from the commissioner Monday evening saying, hey, let's talk about some details here, some going back and forth on what the deal would look like. We get a formal invitation on Thursday night. I accept it late Thursday night. We have pending regent approval. We set a regent meeting for Monday morning, and then they approve it, and then it happened. It just happened so suddenly and gradually, and then suddenly at the end. It was just like it's been a whirlwind. And then you know, it's kind of funny because I'm not actually at the office right now. My wife and I are at our lake house, and so it was just me and her when the meeting ended and we hung up. It was just like we just looked at each other and went, "Well, I guess we're in." And we couldn't really celebrate with anybody. Dawn was able to go out and celebrate with people. I was just like, "Well, I guess I'll go mow the lawn now." So
I got to high five down the hallway to everybody in the hallway, straight into a staff meeting. It was a big time celebration. It was a lot of fun. Sorry, Kelly. You know, hey.
no, that's it. Yeah.
No, Don, seriously though, what was it like to finally get to share this news, not only with your coaches and your players, but your fan base?
Yeah, it was the excitement level is through the roof here, right? And I truly did walk out of this office, high five people going down the hallway, almost went straight into a staff meeting that we had already scheduled, you know, pending the approval from the board of regents. And when I walked into that room, man, you know, there's 150 people in that room or so, and you know, you walk in, everybody's clapping, everybody's chanting, everybody's fired up and ready to go. And so it was a great moment for our athletics department, a great moment for our coaches and our staff who've worked super hard over the years. We've had people who've been here a long time, right? Because they knew we could do something like this. And I think that's what kept people here for a long time. And we're seeing some of the same sentiment from our fans, right? You know, we had some tough years over the past couple of decades, but some really good years recently. And this just, you know, this is just kind of the cherry on top with you know, this announcement and where we're going to be able to go and what we think we're going to be able to do moving forward. Our fans are through the moon about it.
Obviously, Don, you've seen a lot. You've been there at Texas State for a lot, over 2 decades, getting to witness, you know, what's going on with Texas State athletics. And you know, right now, our Associate AD of External Affairs, Chris Coots, used to work at Texas State. He knows both of you well. And I've been kind of warned about the word potential. I'm sorry, as our fan base here in Boise gets to know, you know, Bobcat Nation here a little bit, I do want to talk about potential. Don, how does this move help Texas State achieve their potential?
Well, you know, we don't mind the word potential. We don't mind the word sleeping giant because we think we're realizing that potential now, and we think the giant's starting to awake here in Central Texas. It allows for a lot of things, right? One, it allows us to compete against some of the best institutions in the country. We believe that this is going to be a top 5 football league. We believe it's going to be a top 5 men's basketball league. We think this is the best path for us to go to the college football playoffs. That's our goal. This is going to enhance our visibility on a national scale, partnering with these iconic brands. I think it's really going to help us. It's going to elevate our recruiting, right? In really kind of in 2 different ways. One with our high school kids, junior college kids that we're going to be recruiting. I think we're going to be able to recruit a type of kid that we haven't been able to do before. And then in this world of the transfer portal, the retention piece is so important. You know, and you can look at it across the board in some of these other leagues. You know, your all conference players are transferring out, right? I don't think that happens with us in the Pac-12. I think we're going to be able to retain our best student athletes. We're going to have a great NIL program. So I think we'll be able to keep our kids. I think we'll be able to recruit at a higher clip. There are financial incentives that are going to come with this move. We're going to sell more tickets. We're going to get more donations. We're going to be able to use those to continue to improve our department. So there's just so many different wins with this that I could probably go on and on.
As I try to educate myself about Texas State, the athletic program, one thing that has kind of stood out to me are really the last few years and really the trajectory of your athletic program. And it doesn't seem coincidental because a few years ago, Kelly, you took over as the president at Texas State. And I've seen interviews where you talk about the importance of investing in athletics. Why is that something that you find of value to your university, Kelly?
I'm gonna share a little bit of something with you that tells you about how I feel about athletics in general, and it's a personal slight and a grief that I have honed for years about Boise State, because I was on faculty at University of Oklahoma, and we were going to play Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl, and I was like, Boise State, like that's the school with the blue field, and I really didn't think much about it. And everyone in Norman thinks, well, that's why even watch the game? And then I don't know if you were there then, but you watch the game, and Boise's like, wow, they're really good. And then Oklahoma scores late, and we all think we won the game. And then if you weren't there, you've probably seen the reruns of this. They throw this hook and ladder play. They score a touchdown, and they're down by one. And we say, man, we're going to go to overtime. And then they line up for a 2-point conversion. And I will tell you, I saw the Statue of Liberty play happening. I saw the end coming around behind the quarterback, and I turned the TV off. I've never seen that play. Because I saw all of our defensive line going this way. I saw how open that receiver was going to be. I heard later that he went and proposed to a cheerleader right after the game, but that was really the story of that. Like, I still have grief about this, and part of the move to the Pac-12 is my redemption mode. Like I can't wait to beat Boise State. No, I'm just kidding. But it's the story here is that I didn't know much about Boise State until that game. And I think that a lot of people could tell you the same story about how Boise State became known. And everyone wants to be like the Boise State of college football now, or the UCF of college football. You got like UCF goes 13-0 and wins a kind of a mythical national championship, and everyone wants to model themselves after that. And so those two stories kind of tell you something about the value of athletics for recognition of the university. And if I had $1 for every time I heard a university president say athletics is the front porch of the university, we'd be able to build all the buildings we need here and not have to raise any money for NIL because we have so much money. But while presidents say that and they know how important athletics is, they don't always invest in athletics like they probably should. If they really believe that, they should invest a lot in it, just like you invest in marketing and recruiting material for students and so on. And I firmly believe my experience at Oklahoma has been that Oklahoma was not a well-known university until the 1950s, when they went on this large run and won a bunch of football games in a row and won national championships. And I want the same thing for Texas State. We're going to be leaning on the athletics program to build up their national reputation, and by doing so, lift up the university's reputation. And I can only do that. I can't just tell Don, go out there and do it, but I'm not going to give you any money for it. I've got to invest in him and in his coaches and in student athletes. And now we're able to invest in student athletes in a way we're never able to do that before. And so we're going to do whatever we can to build that program up, just like we would our PhD programs that we started adding here, and how much money we spend on scholarships and student success efforts and so on. Athletics plays such a huge role. You can't imagine the numbers we're getting on social media, traditional media, what the coverage has been for the past year, but especially the last week. It's remarkable. And people are saying things like, I remember Texas State being in a movie once, but I thought they were called the Armadillos. And didn't they have a female kicker? And that's all they know about Texas State is this Unnecessary Roughness movie. And I want them to know about all the other great things happening here to raise the national profile and the brand. And we're using athletics in a way to do that. So that's why you have to invest in it.
First off, real quick, Kelly, we actually loop the 2007 Fiesta Bowl on every TV in the athletics building, just 24/7.
Do not put that in my suite, or I'll have to break a TV.
Visiting team hotel rooms, Kelly. That's all you can get is closed caption. That's
Exactly. Exactly. Don, to hear that from your president, again, you've been at Texas State for over 2 decades now. What is it like to not only see his vision, but his action supporting college athletics at Texas State?
Hey, I'll brag on him and I'll try to be quick, but it's hard to be quick when you're talking about what he does for our athletics program. He meets with every single recruit that we have on campus, if possible. And I can tell you, it's probably not 85% of them, 90% of them. And I can't tell you how many times we've come out of those meetings either together or separately. And I would hear from Kelly that said, "Hey, I talked to this recruit. They were looking for this or they were looking for that. What are you guys doing in that space? How can I help you there?" So it's an invaluable, he's an invaluable resource for us just because he's so in tune with what we're doing. And I will tell you, he does things behind the scenes to support our athletics department, not financially. That's the least of it. It's like how much he cares about our student athletes, how much he wants to win. I'll give you two things, and one of them is I remember last year we were playing Georgia State in football. Game ends about 10 o'clock here in San Marcos. So he said, "Hey, I got to get out of here quick out of the football stadium." I said, "Where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to Foley, Alabama." Well, our volleyball team was playing in the Sun Belt Conference Championship the next day, I believe at 11 a.m. And so he and his wife, Beth, hop in a car at 10 o'clock at night, drive straight through Texas, straight through Louisiana, right through Mississippi, right into Alabama, and get there basically, what, Kelly, 30 minutes before tip-off. Did the same thing for our soccer program. We're playing at Louisiana Monroe. Game ends, I think, at 2 o'clock. Our team's playing at Foley, maybe 7 o'clock. My timeline might be off a little bit. But what I love about that story is he knew when he left Monroe, Louisiana, that he wasn't going to get to the soccer championship based on the time until about halftime, and he still went. It's just unbelievable. He drove, what, Kelly, 5, 6, 7 hours. So his support is way more about, hey, I'm going to help you build this, or I'm going to help you get that. He loves our student athletes. He loves the university. He wants to see it succeed. He knows we're a vehicle to make the university better, to expand that brand. He's all in, and there's nobody like him.
I think when you consider his background, there might not be anybody like him, Don, because I know as a proud Canadian, Kelly, I mean, obviously dreams of being an NHL one player one day, and I know that might not have worked out. I'm curious though, Kelly, how many university presidents do you come across that served as a prison guard for 3 years during their time?
Probably not very many. And for that's, I mean, I've been incredibly blessed, and thank you, Don, for those kind of words. But I grew up in a little fishing village in northern Canada. Wasn't going to go to college, and I got a chance. We moved down to southern Alberta. There was a community college not far away, so I went to that community college, got a law enforcement diploma. I was too young to get a policing job, so I got a prison guard job. And one of my instructors talked me into going back to school to get a 4-year degree. And that decision changed my life forever. And that's what I feel like when I look at the students in the student section or recruiting students at new student orientation. I think about the life-changing experience of a college degree, how that changed my life forever. And that's what we're all about here. So we can talk about brand recognition and getting your name out there and winning championships and so on. All of that is meant to create buzz and excitement about coming to a university that might attract a certain number of students who only want to go to a place that has that kind of atmosphere. But the ultimate goal is for them to get a college degree and for us to provide them an opportunity to do something that their parents might not have been able to do. And so my ultimate motivation is just to create greater opportunities for students to get a 4-year college degree and to change their lives. And because that changes generations of lives after that. And I've been blessed. We live in the best country in the world. I can't imagine how blessed I am. It's hard to put in words how blessed I am, how blessed I feel to be here. But the college experience changed my life forever, and I want to make sure everyone has that experience.
As long as we're, talking about, going global here potentially, or best nation, I'm sure that Don, you would argue you live in the best state in America. And from my understanding, you've sunk your roots down then into Texas and don't necessarily like leaving that place. But my understanding is you did for at least a period of time go over to Ireland and play pro basketball. So you have any connections over there? Maybe a Pac-12 conference game, Texas State, Boise State, over in Ireland. What do you think?
Hey, let's go over to Dublin and play. Let's go over to Belfast. I was located right outside of Belfast. I'm all for it. The Irish are great people, super friendly. They love their sports. Uh, Texas State is known to have a good time occasionally. They like to have a good time occasionally in Ireland. But yeah, but to your point, yeah, this is a great state. Ireland's a great country as well, but this is a great state. We love being here. I love, and Kelly's talking about the exposure. I saw what the Pac-12 put out this morning on, some of the views that they're getting on their social media hits and kind of tongue in cheek. Hey, everything's bigger in Texas, right? Because the announcement and the interest that it grew. But yeah, let's line that up. We'll figure that out. I'll talk to Jeremiah, man. We'll figure out a way to play in Dublin. I'm in.
Hey, Jeremiah loves unconventional ideas, and as long as if it's a revenue generating opportunity, he'll run head
Yeah.
full steam into that thing. Don, for you, I think that the teams out west are eager to get into the state of Texas because that's a recruiting hotbed. So that makes obvious sense for teams out west because they love to recruit the state of Texas. But what is it about you located in Texas that is excited to now move west or go west?
I think there could be some recruiting dividends for us there, right? There's going to be some opportunities there, but for us, it does go back to that brand, right? It's just going to expand our brand nationally, which is going to allow us to increase our footprint for recruiting everywhere. In the competition piece, right? I mean, who we're gonna recruit people that are gonna be excited to go play at Boise State on the blue turf. Basketball players that are gonna love the fact that they're gonna get a chance to play against Gonzaga and San Diego State and Oregon State baseball and Utah State basketball, and I could go on and on because there's so many great things about these institutions. So it's the recruiting location is great, but I think what probably will be more appealing is who we're playing against.
And you mentioned Jeremiah Dickey? You brought him up, Don. Do you have Jeremiah's from, he spent a lot of time in his life in Texas. Do you have a previously existing, connection with Jeremiah? And what do you know about Boise State for that matter?
Yeah, through this process, I know Boise State, to Kelly's point, it's funny when we joined the Sun Belt Conference, 2013. You heard this a lot that Texas State could potentially be the next Boise State. People would say that at different times, and obviously we hadn't quite got there. But Boise State has always been on everybody's radar. Man, that's kind of the model to follow. So yeah, I'm very familiar with Boise. I know you got a lot of great programs. It's not just football. Jeremiah's innovative, right? I know he wants to drive revenue. I know he's big on attendance and pushing crowds at your places, and so yeah, we're similar in that aspect. And I'm looking forward to working with him and the other ads. I think we're all on the same page. We're gonna have to operate a little bit differently moving forward, right? We're gonna have to think outside the box. But yeah, Boise State is a school that a lot of people emulate, and we want to be in the college football playoffs just like they were. That's our goal. So we'd love to be in their shoes next year.
I don't know Jeremiah, but I follow him on social media. I have to be careful. Like at the end, people were like, every tweet I made, people were trying to read into like, what does he mean by this or by that? And luckily, I had followed him much earlier, and so. But I love following him. He's very active on social media. And a couple of weeks ago, he said, "Hey, I don't have much going on. Why don't you guys just fire off some questions at me?" And so I love that kind of openness that he has. He's got a great sense of humor, and I can't wait to get to know him better because I think he represents Boise State really well.
Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. You bring up a sense of humor. I got one more for you, Kelly. My understanding is that, in big moments, you like to go jump in the river to celebrate the one that, snakes right through the heart of San Marcos. We got one here in Boise that goes right by the stadium. So what would it take to jump into our river here for, I don't know what the celebration would be. I probably don't even want to think about it, but what would it take?
So yeah, it's so funny. So when I first got here, our students actually, when they graduate, they walk across the stage. Many of them have bathing suits on under their caps and gowns because they'll walk outside the arena and go jump in the river after. And so it's a big tradition of jumping in the river. And they were always asking me, like, when are you going to jump in the river? And so I thought, well, I got to find a time. And Beth said, wait till something big happens. And so I told the football team, boy, when you guys qualify for our first bowl game, I'm going to jump in the river. I want you guys jumping in with me. Well, we finally do, and we jump in. It was kind of embarrassing because it was a late at night, and I get over there to the river, and they had like 2 ambulances there. They had like a backboard with a neck brace on it. They had lifeguards in the water. I don't know what they thought I was going to do when I jumped in, but Donnie jumped in, GJ jumped in, the players, cheerleaders, and it became a big thing. And then now every time we win a championship in athletics, we jump in the river. Something big happens. You may see some river jumping next week. I don't want to give anything away. But I will say, when we beat Boise State in Boise, I'll jump in that river before I get on the plane to come home. How about that?
All right. Well,
I'll do it. I'll do it as well. I just need a wetsuit.
I was going to say our river is a whole lot colder than your guys' river, but Bobcat can thank me for that one. Yeah, guys, I really, really appreciate it. Kelly, Don, I hope you guys have a wonderful 4th of July weekend. And thanks for sharing some time with us today.
Okay, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
All right, back inside Bronco Studios, we are joined now by Boise State Associate Athletic Director of External Affairs, Christopher Coots. And it is interesting how things can just come full circle in life. A school you used to work for will now be a future conference opponent. Tell us about your ties to Texas State.
Yeah, so thanks for having me, Jay. And Texas State, I worked there for about 2+ years, got there in February 2022, left there to come here last May, June, however you want to look at it. So got to know it very well. Got to know it during the end of the dark time, if you will, and got to see it on the kind of the path that it's on right now.
Yeah, and I think this is an interesting time to really take a look at Texas State and what they're doing. And, they talk a lot about the last 2 to 3 years. Their success in that time span seems more than coincidental, though, Chris.
Spot on. And so being there, being the role I had, I obviously worked directly with Don Coryell, who we just had, the director of athletics. I was there when they hired Kelly Damphousse as university president. So quick story, when I got there, the previous president was retiring, Denise Trouth. And so they went through a search. And part of that search in the presidential piece, one of the pillars was athletics. Having a university president who's very interested and understands the importance of athletics. So as they're interviewing people, Kelly, who came over from Arkansas State, who had made tremendous amount of momentum and impact during his time there in Jonesboro, stood out. And once he got there in that summer of 2022, it was full bore, like university president, director of athletics. Don has been there for 20+ years. He was named the AD in 2021, the summer of 2021, but he knows that place, but he's a new energy. And then you have kind of what eventually happened with a fuller alignment with the head football coach. But when you have a university president and AD in lockstep, it transforms a place. And that's what you're seeing right now. And I can talk about Kelly all day, but one thing from Kelly is he is there as much as Don, and Don is there a lot. And what I mean by that is that every sporting event, home event, those two are present. The only times they're not is when Don's kids have a basketball game or volleyball or something like that, because they care. So that's important. It shows you the impact a university president can have on an athletic department and the trajectory it has. And so that's really reaffirming that, you see that in other places, and this is the things that you can create when you have alignment.
I think we talk about, the vision or even the visual of what support might look like. And it seems like Dr. Dampus has also had a call to action at times in terms of investing into sports. So how has that been impactful in these last 3 years. And in your time there, maybe what is some of the actions that you witnessed?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it's the presence. That's an action, right? Being present, being around our coaches, our athletes, showing you care, talking to them on the sidelines or during or after games. So that's a big piece to me. In terms of other things, the infrastructure, they built a new South End Zone complex, a $37 million project, I believe is what the final number ended up being. They're going through and evaluating what other facilities need to be updated, simple things, just changing the look and feel of the place. But the other thing that maybe is not as tangible is the culture, right? And so when you have change in leadership, there's obviously a new aura to the place, and that's driven by the personality. And when Kelly showed up, obviously Don's already moving the ship in that direction, and Kelly just puts a motor on the back of it. He allowed people to understand, like, this place does care about you. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation in terms of the potential that it has, and I can go into that in a second. But when you have Kelly showing you are supported from the campus and Don leading that from the athletic side of things, now everyone's mindsets start changing, right? The football players, the baseball players, softball players, volleyball players, basketball players, they're all thinking to themselves, like, this place does care about me. I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to put in that time and effort. The staff has the same thing. And that's where it all changes, right? When your mindset, your culture changes, then you pack it with success, wins on the courts and the fields. Now you're rolling. And that's the most tangible, is that feel of the place went from kind of uncertain, do we want to be what we're capable of, to no, we are capable of that and we're going to do it.
When it comes to, really sports in general in the state of Texas, obviously football is king, but I lived there for a year when I played college ball my sophomore year, played baseball out in West Texas. And you quickly kind of start to find out that, it's basically UT and almost everybody else, but you can obviously throw Texas A&M into that mix, another SEC school. So as Texas State looks to try to stand out, does joining the Pac-12 help them do that?
I believe so. It's always going to be a crowded market. I mean, there's UT and A&M. Those are the top dogs. And you got Houston, obviously, in the Big 12. You got TCU up the road in the Big 12 with recent success at a national level. Tech out there building a juggernaut. Like, it's always going to be competition. So for Texas State, its first step is to get past the other schools that are amongst its peers. And it's doing that by going to the Pac-12. I share this story often because it's funny when you think about Texas State. When I first got there, or like anyone who first goes there, and by the way, Bronco Nation, San Marcos is going to be number one on your Pac-12 visit list because it's an awesome place. But when you first get there, you're like, ooh, this place has potential. I could see this being something. That word, potential, is a no-no. Don't say that word because as Travis Comer, the man who hired me at Texas State, like to say, potential gets you a cup of coffee with also paying $2. Potential is worthless, right? And so when we hired G.J. Kinney, during his introductory press conference in December 2023, I said, hey, man, don't use the word potential. It's just not what we do here. Didn't use it, did fine, but he always likes to bring it up like, Chris doesn't like me using this word, but I'm going to say this place has potential. So when you think past the potential and see the results, that's where the Pac-12 kind of got in, is we're not buying today. We're not even definitely not buying the past. We're buying the future. Yeah,
and that's what I think when you start to gain a better understanding of where things changed for Texas State 3 years ago, you now start to think about where they might be able to be in 5 years versus where they were 5 years ago. And maybe that aligns better with what the Pac-12's mission is right now and where they think that they can be. Speaking to the town, you just said that Bronco Nation's going to love traveling there. The towns are very different, but they do have some similarities. Their populations are booming. There's a river that runs through the heart of each town, and I can't help but think that there are some cool similarities between these two places.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is the river, right? Like it's just right in the middle of a campus. Kelly has been known to jump in the river in celebration of bowl appearances and conference championships, Dawn as well. So the river is a prominent feature. The river is literally right across from the basketball arena. It doesn't go up next to the football stadium. That's a Dawn pipe dream to have a lazy river down to the football stadium. Need a little more money for that. But the river's awesome. It's 72 degrees year round because it's spring fed, and float culture is huge. But the thing in Texas, you can float all year if you really wanted to because that water's 72 degrees and never gets cold. And so there's that. There's the square, which is literally attached to the campus in some ways, up the road from the basketball arena. That's kind of where the restaurants are, where people usually go the night before a game. But it's just a great college town in a booming area. I mean, the Austin metro area, which includes San Marcos and then on the north side, Round Rock, that's 2.5 million people. And then you add San Antonio, which is about 30 minutes the other direction from San Marcos, obviously millions of people there. There's a lot going on, right? And so when you think about the future, the growth pattern there, people say this all the time, Austin and San Antonio, that's becoming the new DFW corridor. If you guys aren't familiar, obviously Dallas and Fort Worth separate about 40 minutes, a little longer than San Antonio and Austin, but San Marcos is in the middle of that. And so all that growth, all that potential is there, but it's happening. I lived in a town when I was there called Kyle. It's about 15 minutes up the interstate from San Marcos north, in between Austin and San Marcos. That town didn't exist essentially 15 years ago. It was one exit, a little strip mall where the H-E-B grocery store was, Albertson's competitor in terms of the grocery chain side of things. When I lived there, I mean, the town, I don't know, I'm not going to guess the number, but it's thousands upon thousands of people just 15 minutes up the road from San Marcos. So it's a booming area, lots of people moving there. Obviously, the weather supports that. The river's a great vibe, sets the tone. The facilities are really good. The basketball arena was recently updated about 5 or 6 years ago, some pieces to it. But it's a nice arena. Can certainly host Pac-12 basketball, and it has plenty of people to pack in there. So that's going to be a great environment to play when they get Boise States and the Gonzagas and the San Diego States in there. So that's great to see. Everything else is just across the board on the right path from a facility standpoint. The football stadium, I talked about that South End Zone project. I considered it the best stadium in the Sun Belt. Because it just feels like a stadium. It's not bleachers. It's a stadium. And it just, when it fills with 25,000 people and you're thinking, this is, again, UT is about 90,000, A&M might be 100,000, something like that. But you see why Texas football is a big deal because this place is going to be loud.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear Coryell as well as Dr. Dampus talk about how, next up on the list is basketball. You could talk about the similarities between the towns. There's also some similarities maybe in how athletic departments are approaching, growing their athletic departments. Part of what you do, Chris, is, trying to understand maybe the megaphone or the impact that some of these moves can make. So as it pertains, not only the Pac-12, but to Boise State, what does it mean to reach into the state of Texas now?
Yeah, and Jeremiah talks about it all the time. For us, that's a recruiting base, right? If you look at our student athlete body, which is about 350 plus, the fifth most kind of state where our athletes are from is Texas. So that shows that we obviously are already there, and for us to get more talent to make this whole thing work across our 18 sports programs, Texas is a place to be. And that's good. I mean, that's where a lot of talent is. Obviously, a lot of people are already competitive there. It's a very important base for Midwestern states. But for us to get there, now be able to play, be able to tell our recruits and athletes, hey, you can play at home when we play there once a year or twice a year or whatever it may be, that's important. Obviously, the central time zone is important from a television window standpoint to add that into the kind of how our TV schedule breaks out from basketball to football and everything else. That's important. And talk about population growth, right? To plant the Boise State flag. Now, Boise State's already a national brand. I don't need to tell anyone that. But to plant a flag physically, because you play there consistently in the state of Texas, which is obviously a very populated state, growing and growing and growing, that only kind of opens up a market for more Boise State fans. Or if we have Boise State fans who already live in Houston, Dallas, Austin, or San Antonio, they can now cheer us on a little closer, which is great to see. I mean, last year, Georgia Southern, you're thinking, how many Boise State fans are going to be there? Mm-hmm. We had the whole upper deck corner there, right, full of orange. And you're thinking, this place, we can go anywhere. But now you put us in the middle of Texas on a consistent basis, obviously every other year for football and every year for basketballs and so down. That's big. I want our fans to enjoy that and feel like Boise State is here and I can get to watch in my own backyard.
What is it like getting in and out of San Marcos? I know one thing that people rave about coming to Boise State is that you land a plane. You land a plane in 15 minutes, you're on campus, right? So in terms of the accessibility and the convenience of getting in and out of San Marcos, what is that like? Because I remember Coryell at one point pointed out that a lot of these Sunbelt schools, you fly to one airport and it's like a 2-hour bus ride. It might not be as inconvenient for them joining the Pac-12 actually.
Yeah, I mean, Dawn and I actually talked about that fairly recently about like no longer are we doing 8-hour bus rides from Texas State to whatever. He was excited by like the ability to fly in from San Diego from Austin. So Austin Airport is about 25 minutes from campus. Take the toll road on the side. That's very convenient. It's just an interstate ride. If you need more options, you fly in San Antonio. That's about a 45-minute drive to campus. So you have two major international airports within very quick driving distance. Obviously, hotels are no problem in Austin because the city's booming. San Marcos obviously has its own. San Antonio stays its own. Fun note, football, when they play at home, they usually stay in San Antonio the night before because football teams stay in a hotel. So they go the other direction. So like that's how easy and accessible that market is. It's in and out. It's very easy. You can make a bigger trip about it. Ask Jeremiah. You can go up to Waco and go to Magnolia Farms if you're into that. It's not too far. Go out to Lockhart and go try all the amazing barbecue. I mean, it's just a great experience traveling in because you get to see all the Texas culture that you maybe want. I didn't even talk about the east side where the hill country is. So that's a whole nother experience an hour the other direction.
Well, if you are planning to travel to San Marcos, you can go to broncosports.com and find Chris's email address because he'll apparently serve as your tour guide potentially. Yeah. Fun fact about Texas State. It was the fictional college in the NBC Friday Night Lights series. I watched it. I read the actual book. I watched the real movie. Is that a big deal in town?
It's funny you bring that up. First of all, I'm a huge Friday Night Lights fan. Like Texas culture is like nostalgic to me because I've lived there twice now in my life. So I love that show. I didn't even connect it until someone told me. So that, if you guys even watch that show, it's filmed in actual head coach's office. The same desk, for better or worse, that they filmed it at is still there. The scene where they're on the field of what is now UFC Stadium, former Bobcat Stadium, they put the Austin skyline like within viewpoint of it. I'm here to tell you the Austin skyline is not visible from the stadium at all. So they kind of manipulate a little bit. It's kind of a big deal. I mean, there's plenty of photos around the press box where they stood and filmed a section. Like that's still, there's a photo behind there. Like, yeah, it's a calling card. The other thing is, boy, I'm blanking on the movie. Texas State, the Armadillos, the early 90s movie.
Okay.
Help me. Unnecessary Roughness? Is that a movie? I think that's a movie. Anyway, that's Texas State.
I'm terrible with movie history.
Yes.
It's sports, so I should get it, but I don't.
I'm exposing myself because I should know that. But yeah, Texas State is the fictional school. They're not filmed there, but they've been referenced now in two major Hollywood productions.
Oh, Chris, we appreciate your time. And I assume, like I said, it's kind of a full circle moment, it seems like. And now you get to reconnect with a place that, kind of helped you launch your own career.
Yeah, I love Boise State. I came here for a reason, and it's been everything thanks to Cody, Jeremiah, and everyone else around me. But Texas State will always have a place in my heart because it was fascinating to see it's at its low, right? When we made the change in our football leadership after the 2022 season, and to see it launch in 2023 under GJ, you feel like you're a part of that adversity and you feel like you gain ownership of the story. And so I love that place. Obviously, I care a lot about Kelly and Don. They're amazing people. There's other people there from Travis to Brian Dean to Lucas Westbrook, all these kind of senior staff members who are still there, friends of mine. So to see them experience this Pac-12 is personal to me because we all went through it, if you will, but you saw a lot of people care. And so when care is rewarded into potentially a great thing, it's always nice to see.
Chris, we appreciate your time and obviously still connected to some of the media back in the area, which leads us to our next guest. We are joined now by Keff Ciardello of Win Now or Get Bent. And Keff, first things first, when you host a show with such a specific title, there's obviously a significant story or meaning behind it. So as we get to know Texas State athletics, what is the meaning of Win Now or Get Bent?
Gosh, I feel like it carries many meanings, but if I were to really pin it down to something specific, it came on the eve of, I believe it was the 6th straight losing season for Texas State, where they hadn't won more than 4 games in a season. This may have been right after back-to-back 2-10 seasons, if I'm remembering the dating correctly. And it was a tumultuous time for the Texas State program. I probably got a little too feisty on Twitter sometimes back in those days. And there was a big push for hitting the transfer portal and bringing in a lot of different players from the transfer portal. And I was kind of going on a rant, and I said, well, if they're this is a win now move if you're gonna just take in all these transfers. So it's win now or get bent. People just seem to like that, so I stuck with it. I slapped it on the name of a podcast in 2021, and so here we are now with that. You know, I can't take any credit for any changes for Texas State, but it has changed quite a bit since 2021 to 2025. How much where we've been, where we started to where we are is a testament to the name.
There's a Boise State fan website called The First Kick Was Good. So I think that those calls to specific moments in time, or it's going to resonate, I guess, with fans here at Boise. You know, Texas State to the Pac-12. If you look at Texas State's rise over the year, I mean, they've been an NAI school, D2 school. They finally get to the FCS level. Then they go up to the FBS level, and now they're members of the Pac-12. So, Keff, I know that you have had a front row seat to a lot of this change. Where does the news this week of Texas State joining the Pac-12 kind of rank in lore at Texas State?
Oh gosh, as far as off the field, as anything that's happened off the field for this program, I'd put it right there at the top. I mean, we've seen this program. They went from FCS to FBS in 2011. That was a big moment. There was a ton of excitement around that, but the excitement around this to move on to the Pac-12, the revived Pac-12, to be a part of bringing it back, and to be on a stage that Texas State hasn't been on towards the West Coast. It's just a lot of people seem to be learning more and more about Texas State. It's a big moment. It's a big moment for this athletics department. Obviously, on the field, they have a couple national championships from the 80s. They weren't D1, but back in the 80s, back-to-back national championships. So I'm sure that ranks pretty higher for football, and there's a lot of other great things in other sports. But off the field, it's hard not to imagine that this is the biggest thing that's happened to this athletics department.
So what is the reaction of the fans? I mean, I know you probably kind of touched on it right there, but I mean, Texas State in the Pac-12 is going to take a little bit of getting used to, I think, just the optics of it, right? What does the Bobcat fan base think of this move?
Most of them are excited. It was funny. It felt like there was more trepidation leading up to it, and it really heated up in June, these conversations. It goes back, rumors started last summer, and then those rumors started to gain steam during the season when the Texas State flag was showing up at game day next to the Oregon State and the Washington State flag. It was like, okay, it seems like there's some sort of marketing move going on here. When it really picked up steam around the beginning of June, you could hear some fans with some trepidation about, like, the travel is going to be really expensive. This isn't the same Pac-12. You hear that a lot. It's not that it's a new Pac-12. How can we be expected that this is a power conference? Things like that. When they were being negative about it, but really looking at the landscape of the Pac-12, and you see the teams that are in there, and it's just exciting. It's way more, and not to denigrate the Sun Belt, but it's way more exciting than the Sun Belt when you look at teams like Boise State, the traditions that happen there, the history that's gone on with Boise State, the blue field, of course, everybody knows that. You have Washington State, Oregon State, even San Diego State, Utah State, Fresno State, Colorado State. These are all great opponents. Even in basketball, Gonzaga, they're gonna probably whoop up on the Bobcats, but Bobcat fans will have fun watching it. It'll even if they could get Gonzaga to come to San Marcos, I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of fans that'll fill Strahan Arena to see that product.
I'm just curious now. So what is, when it comes to the Bobcat fan base, what is their knowledge of Boise State? You're a huge sounding board for them, Keff. What is your knowledge of Boise State? And I assume, as with every other college football fan, probably excited to check out the blue at some point in time.
Boise State, they are the first little guy that did it. I feel like them and App State with that win over Michigan, that's one that sticks in my head as well. But when you think about Boise State in that bowl game against Oklahoma, the trick plays to win it, how incredible that game was, one of the greatest college football games ever. It's a game that I always liked college football before I watched that game, but I fell in love with college football watching that. I was like, this sport is bonkers and it's for me, and I want to watch it for the rest of my life. I mean, even, yeah, like an engagement at the end of that game. That whole thing is tattooed in so many college football fans' memories that and now you get to be in a conference with them. Of course, it's going to be exciting. I imagine there's fans that are lining up to go up there to Boise. I know there was even a little Twitter beef like a year ago about who had the better river between Boise State and Texas State fans. I thought that was funny. I know nothing about Boise State's river. It sounds amazing right there on campus. I recently had a fan comment on my podcast that some people surf on that river, which is pretty incredible. So it sounds fun. Boise, Idaho sounds like a great time. So I imagine a lot of people want to get up there.
I will say I feel like there are some similarities. I mean, I know San Marcos, the population's booming. There is a river that runs through our town, just like yours. Looking at this from the outside in, though, I think if you kind of follow along social media and stuff like that, I do think there are a specific amount or a certain amount of people that are asking, why Texas State to the Pac-12? So I'm going to ask you, somebody that knows Texas State athletics as well as anybody, why Texas State?
Yeah, it's funny. That's a question I've heard quite a bit since all of this has gone down last Friday. Is why Texas State? I even had some people I was talking to on the West Coast that were like, I've never even heard of Texas State. It feels like it kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of people, but this is a school that's been around since 1899. They've had football since 1909, I want to say. It has a lot of history in sports. It jumped to D1 in 2011, 2012, and there was a lot of potential. Even the commissioner of the league at the time, the WAC, and then the Sun Belt, he was both. He brought Texas State into both of those. It was 2011 for the WAC, it disintegrated, then went to the WAC, the Sun Belt the next year. Carl Benson, he said he thought Texas State was going to be the next Boise State of the 90s. That's literally, he's on record saying that. It didn't really work out. Really seemed like it was leadership that was in the way. They had leadership change recently, and it has galvanized this place and shown everybody that this in San Marcos, nestled between Austin and San Antonio, is a school with 40,000 students. They are really accomplished in a lot of sports outside of football. Everybody knows football is the big bad one, the big bad daddy in Texas, especially. It's all over the nation for sure. But they've suffered there, so it has made people kind of look away from Texas State. And just a little bit of success the last couple of years has put a lot of eyes on this place and the location where it's at. Location is a big part of this, being in the right place at the right time for Texas State to get into realignment. But it really is an underrated location between two pretty big markets.
I think it's pretty cool to see, the Texas State president talk about how much athletics means to that university and using it, as a springboard for the future, really. When we talk about the agreement between Texas State and the Pac-12, I know everybody's eager to find out the revenue share and those details. And so far, those are still, those haven't been publicly shared. But Keff, what can you tell us about what this will mean to Texas State financially versus the position they were in?
Yeah, I mean, it will right off the bat, even if we don't know exactly the TV deal, what the share would be for every team. But if it were a reduced share, if it's around 5 million at a reduced share, that's still over twice as much as what they're getting in the Sun Belt. So right off the bat, you have that to lean on, a little bit of extra money there. It brings more cachet being in the Pac-12. Absolutely. It seems like this, especially with this TV deal, it's going to be on a much more of a national stage as far as broadcasting. And that's going to pay a lot of dividends in all different kinds of avenues. But I can't think of one more specifically than recruiting. That's going to help recruiting so much, especially if you're the only Pac-12 team in Texas. You can it's something you can hang on to. I mean, even if you have West Coast athletes that you're trying to recruit, you could be like, hey, your family will be able to see you whenever we play these teams in conference. So I think it's going to pay. So it's so much bigger than finances. I think it'll all leads back to finances. Obviously, you expand the brand, it makes you more money. But it's just what it does for this athletics department is it fixes a lot of issues, but it also creates a lot more issues that they need to fix. There's a long list that they have to check off in order to prove that they belong in what hope of all of us are thinking is a P5.
It's crazy to think, I'm a West Coast guy, grew up on the West Coast, Keff, and I remember the time when Texas and Oklahoma were exploring the thought of moving into the Pac-12, and we all know how that went. And now Texas State is the team in the Lone Star State that is in the Pac-12. You brought up football, and if you visit Sports Reference and check out the history of the Bobcats ever since they joined the D1 ranks, as a whole, it's not awesome. But the last 2 years have been as good as ever, back-to-back 8-win seasons. What G.J. Kinney is doing there, is it sustainable? And if so, why?
I think this year's is going to be a big test to see how sustainable it is, because he is going to be tested more than ever with how many players he lost last season. A lot of players that he relied on his first 2 years at Texas State are now gone. Players like Nash Jones, he's off with the Chargers. Joey Hobart, he's off with the Seattle Seahawks. Last year's quarterback Jordan McLeod is off with the Buccaneers. You also have great players that transfer, like Cole Wilson is off to the Baylor Bears. He was a receiver. Those are a lot of players that he leaned on, and some of those that I named, he even leaned on before he got to Texas State at Incarnate Word, when they had a ton of success and they led the nation in scoring, no matter the league. It was an FCS team, but they were averaging 52 points a game. A lot of those players are gone. They've moved on. So it's going to be a big test, because he has a lot of new faces, this is a lot of his recruiting on the trail. These players that were in high school when he first got here, and they've been developing them the last couple of years, and now they're gonna put him out there. It could even be that at quarterback with Brad Jackson. He played a little bit as a true freshman last season. It's seeming like he's the front runner going into fall camp, but they brought in a bunch of transfers from, let's see, Holden Gruner from Auburn and Nate Yarnell from Pitt. Are two of the transfers that they have in. Of course, they've even brought in a high schooler in Gavin Parkhurst. It's from quarterback to kicker. It's a whole new group of players, for especially at the starting position. So this is going to be a big test, and if he can pull this off and show that the players that he recruited, he brought in players that he looked at and thought to himself, okay, these are the future of the program. Now is going to be the time to see if it is, and that will tell if it is sustainable. I feel like his third year is going to be his biggest year, especially with a lot of eyes on him now with all this Pac-12 news. A lot of eyes are going to be on GJ's third season.
Well, he's had a chance to play on the blue before. We were wondering if he is actually the first head coach that has played, opponent, I should say, that has played on the blue before. You'll have to ask him about that experience, Keff. But before I let you go, I do want to emphasize you guys are full members, so you're bringing all of your, all of your athletic programs over to the Pac-12, at least the ones that line up with what sports are offered in the Pac-12. But if you look at some of your women's programs at Texas State, whether it be women's volleyball, softball, the track and field program, indoor and outdoor for the ladies, how competitive are they, and how competitive do you think they will be in the Pac-12?
Oh, very competitive. Specifically volleyball, I would say anything that might be the strongest sport at Texas State. A lot of history in volleyball at Texas State. Going back, Karen Chisholm was a coach here for 40 years. They won a ton of conference ton of conference championships in that time over a few different conferences. She handed the baton over to Sean Hewitt, and he's picked up right where she left off. They've been doing the same thing. They've been doing a lot of great work over the last 5 seasons, winning conference championships, even with his own recruiting classes. Like, you feel like early on when he had success, you could say, oh, maybe he inherited what Karen Chisholm left. He has proven that wasn't the case, and he's built his own program. So volleyball, I'd say, is right there, and right below. I wouldn't say even below them. Right next to him, softball. Ricky Woodard, the head coach at softball. A lot of history with the Bobcats, specifically Jessica Mullins recently on the mound at pitcher. She's a terrific athlete. They have turned out respectable, solid programs for a long time in those two sports. Track and field, they just won indoor outdoor in track and for the Sun Belt Conference. So those sports have not been lacking. I mean, 3 of the last 4 years, Texas State athletics has won an award called the Vic Bubas Cup. It's an award given annually to the best athletics department in the Sun Belt. It's a point system graded by how all the sports are doing, not just football and basketball and the big ones. And Texas State has won that 3 of the last 4 years. So that's something that they take a lot of pride in their sports that aren't just football, basketball, the ones that have the most eyes on them. And they've done a lot of great stuff in those ones.
Well, I can tell you this, Jeremiah Dickey, the director of athletics at Boise State, has a goal of every varsity sports program here at Boise State competing for a conference title in the same academic year. They had a number of them last year, so I'm going to guess Boise State's ready to embrace the competition of all the sports at Texas State. Real quick, Keff, are you a guy that likes to poke the bear when it comes to opposing fan bases? Do they find you? Do you find them? Are you a fan favorite? How's this going to work out moving forward here, Keff?
Listen, I feel like I'm friendly. Some UTSA fans may think otherwise. I like to have some fun with some of the Texas rivals. I do know going into the Pac-12, it feels different. It feels more like kinship with the other teams because everybody is new. Boise State's new. I mean, I say everybody. Washington State and Oregon State, of course, they've been there for a long time. Oregon State since the beginning of the conference, but it is a revival. It feels like everyone's in this together, and they want the conference as a whole to grow, and that's going to take all 8 teams, 9 teams, including Gonzaga, to grow along with it. And I think that, yeah, of course, when they're going up against each other, there's going to be a rivalry. But no, I plan on playing nice, specifically in the Pac-12. I can't help myself with UTSA because I graduated from Texas State. My brother graduated from UTSA, so there might be some psychology going on in there when I'm digging at the Roadrunners. But he and I have a lot of fun, and I know it's a friendly rivalry. But yeah, for me, I'm gonna play nice, absolutely, of course, for the Pac-12 brethren, no doubt.
Well, Keff, I'm going to say I think that in the sibling rivalry, I'm going to say that you got the win this week. But welcome to the Pac-12, not only yourself, but obviously Texas State. We look forward to catching up with you sometime in Boise in the not too distant future. And again, from win now or get bent, check out Keff. We appreciate you joining us today, Keff.
Thank you so much, Jay. Great being here.
That is going to do it for now. Consider this a soft launch of what we have planned here inside Bronco Studios. Coming up tomorrow, we do have some more content coming your way, though. Here from Pac-12 Commissioner Teresa Gold and Boise State Director of Athletics, Jeremiah Dickey. Signing off for now, I'm Jay Tust from Bronco Studios.